Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. Kevin Rogers with you here on Thursday, August 12th, 2021. NFL preseason begins tonight. You had the Hall of Fame game last week, but you have your first full week of NFL preseason beginning this evening with two games, Washington at New England and the Eagles battling the Steelers. Also plenty of Major League Baseball to look at for this Thursday. And we welcome you to today's show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel here at Vegas Insider. And want to remind you about the Daily Insider contest, which we have every day. We have the Daily Insider Tuesdays and Thursdays right now until towards the end of the month. And we'll be back to 5 days a week. But the Daily Insider contest, very easy to enter. Just put in your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day below this video in the comments section, and you will be eligible to win. You'll be in the drawing to win a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper on VegasInsider.com. And the best bet, it can be Major League Baseball, not only a side, total, run line, your choice, also a strikeout prop it could be. It could be a first 5-inning play, a first inning play. Also, it could be NFL preseason as well, now that that's underway. So you have plenty of choices, and put your best bet for the day along with your Vegas Insider user ID in the comments section below. And if you win your best bet, remember you got to win. If you lose, then you get nothing. If you win your best bet, you'll be in the drawing for a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper of your choice at VegasInsider.com. If you are new to the proceedings, you can register with a brand new Vegas Insider user ID. It is free, and we made it easy for you. The big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner, click on that. Click on register now. Create a user ID and password. Put in your email address, first and last name, phone number so we can get in contact with you, and you'll be all set. And again, it is free to register here at VegasInsider.com for a Vegas Insider user ID. So let's begin. We'll get to the NFL in just a bit. Let's start with baseball since we have plenty of afternoon games on the old slate today. And we'll start off. Let's begin in New York first because you have the Mets and the Nationals playing the never-ending doubleheader, apparently, at Citi Field. And they have two games today. The first one starting at 12:10, and then the second game at 4:10. Both of these 7-inning games. And Marcus Stroman will start for New York in the opener. The Mets came back and beat the Nationals yesterday 8-7. And New York desperately needing that win because they have totally free-fallen of late. And that was a game that started a few days ago. The Nationals jumped out to an early lead over the Mets, and then New York rallied to beat Washington. And that was a game that started way back on Tuesday. It was an early game for the, or at least an early start. Nationals got out to a 4-1 lead, but New York rallied for an 8-7 victory yesterday. They were supposed to play a doubleheader. The second game got postponed, so they're playing two today. And again, a big win for the Mets. They really needed that. They got Marcus Stroman going today. Stroman, very interesting numbers. He's 7-11 on the season, but an ERA of 2.83. And he is actually off losses in 3 straight starts and 5 of the past 6. The only win he had came at Cincinnati. 8 scoreless innings, 1 hit back on July 21st. So Stroman, the numbers aren't terrible, but he's just not getting the run support either. His last 3 starts, the Mets have scored 3 runs. And now he knows how Jacob deGrom feels. They just score nothing. The offense does nothing for the Mets, but they did get 8 the other day to beat the Nationals. So now these teams continue their series with 2. Mets a heavy favorite in Game 1. And then in Game 2, coming up at 4:10, Eric Fede starts for Washington. And Trevor Williams, who came over from the Cubs at the trade deadline, another deal by Chicago. And Fede, who actually, and Trevor Williams came over in the Javi Baez deal. For Fede, his last start, he gave up 5 runs and an 8-4 loss to the Braves. And Fede this year, he has had a lot of shakiness, but against the Mets, his last time out, 1-0 win back in mid-June, 7 scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits. So I don't know if you want to take the chance with the Nationals in Game 1 against Stroman, but maybe look at them in Game 2 with Fede going. And Trevor Williams goes in that second game. He's 2-8, 6.18 ERA. I would say it's hard to trust him. So probably if you're going to take Washington, go with them in Game 2 today against the Mets. Now let's go back to the top of the board, and we'll start in Pittsburgh with the Cardinals and the Pirates. And Pittsburgh, they are setting new lows for hitting. They have 3 hits so far in this series against the Cardinals. 3 hits in 2 games. They got 1 2 nights ago. They got 2 last night. Adam Wainwright threw a complete game shutout for the Cardinals. J.A. Happ pitched well in Game 1. And the Cardinals all of a sudden have won 4 of 5. They're a game above 500. I mean, they've been hovering around 500 the entire season. And the Pirates, unbelievably, don't have the worst record in baseball. But they have dropped 7 in a row. They've dropped 9 of 10. And the only win was a comeback victory at Milwaukee during the stretch. And it is Wade LeBlanc, who actually has pitched pretty well since entering the Cardinals' rotation of late. In his last 4 starts, he's allowed a grand total of 7 earned runs. He went 6 innings his last time out against Atlanta, but that was a tough loss. Well, he picked up a no decision, but a tough loss for the Cardinals because they were up 4-2 in that game. If you remember this one, Atlanta got a 2-run homer to tie it at 4, and they got a bunch of runs on bases-loaded walks, and that totally killed it for the Cardinals that night. But LeBlanc has been decent. He's a guy that's going to throw 80-something pitches. He doesn't throw very hard. But, again, you're facing this terrible Pittsburgh lineup who has scored. Talk about this regression. Last 4 games, 3, 2, 1, and 0. They're going to score like -1 run today, the way that's going. But this is the Pirates, and we know they're supposed to be one of the worst teams in baseball, so it really shouldn't be shocking that that's the case. JT Brubaker gave up 9 runs his last start against Cincinnati in a 10-0 defeat. He did allow 3 earned runs in a 3-1 defeat at St. Louis back in late June. So I don't know if you're looking at the under maybe. Feels very hard to make a case for the over in that game just because Pittsburgh can't hit and the Cardinals probably want to get out of there with a low-scoring win, which they've done already a few times in this series. Let's go cross-state, Dodgers and the Phillies. So you had a few nights ago Max Scherzer and Aaron Nola starting. They both got knocked out, not because of anything they did. They got knocked out because of the rain. That was the only thing that could knock them out of that game. It was scoreless when they left. It was a huge rain delay, and the Dodgers ended up winning that game. They went bullpen by committee and beat the Phillies in that Game 1 5-0. Both Nola and Scherzer didn't go more than 4 innings, so that's kind of a shame. And then last night, the Dodgers blew out the Phillies 8-2. So Philadelphia, who had won 8 straight, now they've lost 2 in a row to LA. They've been outscored 13-2 so far in this series. And of course, now you're getting the aces going today. Mitch White and Ranger Suarez going on the mound. And Mitch White, who won't go very long. Last time out, 3 2/3 innings against Arizona back on July 31st. Ranger Suarez won't go very long. His last start against the Mets, 2 2/3. But Suarez, got to give him this, though. He's being used as a starter for a few innings. Not necessarily, we like to say, the bullpen game, you have a guy go 1 inning and then you go a lot of other pitchers. But Suarez, his last 2 starts against Washington and against New York, he's gone 5 2/3 innings, no hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts. So that's very impressive that he has gone through these last few starts where he's taken care of his business the first third of the game. And then after that, you got to depend on the Phillies bullpen. But Philadelphia, an underdog here. Again, Dodgers they're going with a bullpen game. And we don't know how that's going to last considering, well, both these teams have been kind of screwed by this because Scherzer went 3 1/3 the first game. David Price went 4 innings last night. Kyle Gibson, who the Phillies picked up from the Rangers, he made 2 starts, and then last night he came in for 4 and a third innings. So the Phillies had 2 relievers go an inning each, and then Gibson came in, and he was in a sense the scapegoat. He gave up 6 runs in 4 and a third innings. So he didn't get to start the game. I think he was the original starter, and then Joe Girardi changed things up. So Gibson came in the third inning in a scoreless game, and everything went to hell for the Phillies. So they've had a lot of relievers go. We're going to see a lot of relievers today. Very tough game to handicap when you have all those things going on. The Brewers and the Cubs at Wrigley Field. And Chicago was once competitive early this season. They went on that 11-game losing streak, and the plug was pulled. Everyone got traded, and it's been a complete embarrassment. So the Cubs have lost 9 of 10. They've lost 7 in a row. During this stretch, they have scored in the last 5 games a grand total of 8 runs. They lost 10-0 to Milwaukee last night. They've lost 3 games already to Milwaukee in this series. They lost 3 to the White Sox. So this has been a homestand from hell for the Cubs. But the only good news is they go with their ace today, Kyle Hendricks. He's the only thing left they have on their team that's worth anything. And Brandon Woodruff starts for Milwaukee. Now, Woodruff has had good numbers against the Cubs this year. And now, granted, he doesn't face Anthony Rizzo or Chris Bryant or Javi Baez, that he doesn't have to take on any of them anymore. So he gets a depleted Cubs lineup in which already this season he has beaten the Cubs 3 of 4 times. The only loss was a 3-2 defeat. And in the 4 starts, he's allowed a grand total of 2 earned runs. So Woodruff has obviously dominated. Woodruff is a great under pitcher on the road. And now he squares off against Kyle Hendricks, who you don't normally get at this price. I mean, Kyle Hendricks nearly plus $2, 13-4 record. When's the last time you saw a pitcher at home getting this kind of number as an underdog? His last start against the White Sox, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, an 8-6 loss. That one went to extra innings, so that's not really a fair assessment. But against Milwaukee, last time he faced him back in late June, 14-4 loss in Milwaukee, 4 earned runs, 6 innings. I don't think it's crazy to lean towards the Cubs today or even lean towards them plus 1.5, simply because Hendricks gives you a shot. Maybe the under could be worth a look because Chicago's offense has been so terrible, and Woodruff's been a great under pitcher on the road, and Woodruff's numbers against the Cubs are very good. It's baffling because we're looking at the Cubs and saying how bad they are, and they have their best pitcher on the mound. But man, I mean, this team has fallen so quickly, and it showed. We see what it is now. The Reds and Braves, they have a funky 5:10 first pitch at Truist Park in Atlanta. And for whatever reason, this is the house of horrors for the Reds. They lost the 2 games in the first round of the playoffs last year in Atlanta. They got shut out in both those games. So far, they're 0-2 in this series. They lost the first game after leading 2-0. They erased a 5-0 deficit last night, tied it at 5, but then lost in a walk-off homer in extra innings, 8-6. So now the Reds are trying to prevent a sweep. The Reds are 11-1 their last 12 road series finales. So they have fared well in that spot in which they wrap up a series. They don't just fade away. They play well, they show up, and again, I'm sure a lot of motivation here because the Reds play the Phillies this weekend in Philadelphia. And granted, the Phillies have not played well the last few days, but the Reds don't want to go into that series after getting swept in Atlanta. Now, this pitching matchup, very interesting because you have 2 young guys going. Vladimir Gutierrez for the Reds, Kyle Muller for the Braves. Gutierrez has been way better on the road than at home. His road record 3.11, his home ERA, I should say, 3.11, his road ERA 5.93. And the Reds are 4-0 in his last 4 road starts. And he's been an underdog in each of them. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those starts. He did lose to the Braves earlier this year at home. Kyle Muller actually His best start of the season came against the Reds. 4-0 shutout. That was the Sunday game in late June of their series. 5 innings, 1 hit, 9 strikeouts. And for the Braves, who have had their pitching rotation completely decimated due to injuries this year, Muller's been a nice addition. But home numbers, not great. 4.43 ERA, even though Atlanta's won his last 2 starts at home. I do like the Reds a little bit here. I think you get some good value with them. Last 2 games, it was around a pick-em-ish. Atlanta minus 120. But now you're getting Cincinnati at plus 130, plus 135. The 2 late games out in the National League West are kind of duds, but we'll go over both of them just because you have such mismatches and all the favorites are doing well because you have these matchups, feels like every night. You're getting San Diego, Colorado, San Francisco, Arizona. Now you have San Diego at Arizona and Colorado at San Francisco. Padres were blown out by the Marlins yesterday 7-0, so they couldn't pull off the sweep of Miami. Arizona, on the road, they're 14-45. But they're 21-35 at home, which is better, obviously. But how about this for San Diego? 40-24 at home, just 26-26 on the road. So they're not a great road team, the Padres. Darvish takes the mound for San Diego, and Taylor Widener goes for Arizona. Darvish is winless in his last 4 road starts. San Diego's 0-4 in his past 4 road starts. 3 times he's allowed 4 runs. So Darvish not exactly sharp on the road of late. Taylor Widener, he's a name you don't really know. Again, not a great pitcher for Arizona, but he did shut down the Padres earlier this year at Petco Park. So it's a high price tonight. I would not lay that with San Diego. I don't even know if I take them on the run line. But Arizona, after losing, dropped 2 at San Francisco. This has been a tough stretch for the Diamondbacks. They had the Dodgers at home, the Giants at home, the Padres on the road, the Giants on the road. Now they get San Diego at home. Then they get Philly at home. Then even going to Colorado, where the Rockies are one of the better home teams in baseball. So this is just an unbelievable stretch for the Diamondbacks, who would get 35-80. They have 80 losses already with 6 weeks to go. But I don't know if I trust Darvish as this kind of favorite. Colorado's at San Francisco. That is the final game of the night in the National League, and this number has jumped. San Francisco was laying about 170, 180 this morning. Now it's up to almost 200. Logan Webb has been a pretty good arm inside the Giants rotation, and you got to give the Giants and Gabe Kapler a lot of credit because San Francisco this year does not have really any big names in their rotation. They don't have the Madison Bumgarners anymore. And they're not like the Dodgers, who are totally loaded with Cy Young winners. You can even argue. You're taking the Giants rotation over the Padres rotation at this point. But the numbers that Kevin Gausman's put up, what DeSclafani's put up, even though he's hurt now, Alex Wood, what he's done, Johnny Cueto, and then Logan Webb, who doesn't get a lot of run. He went toe-to-toe with Corbin Burns his last time out, but the Giants lost to the Brewers 2-1. He had 9 strikeouts in 6 innings. For Logan Webb, since the start of July, the Giants are 5-1 his last 6 starts. He hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start. So he has been really good. And on the flip side, with German Marquez starting for Colorado, Marquez cruised to a win his last time out against the Marlins 14-2. The kryptonite for Marquez this year has been the San Francisco Giants, who have beaten the Rockies right-hander 3 times. Now you're getting Marquez as a heavy underdog, and also with him on the road, Marquez actually beat the Padres twice as a road dog this season. But in his other 6 starts as a road underdog, the Rockies are 0-6. And considering Marquez has struggled against the Giants, Webb's got good numbers. The Giants are 5-0, and Webb's 5 starts as a favorite. I would say San Francisco, even though it's a heavy number to lay, they're a good look against Colorado. All right, American League now. And Oakland's at Cleveland. This game last night, Cal Quantrill pitched very well for the Indians, and he has looked good down the stretch since there's no Shane Bieber, and the Indians don't really have a lot of arms right now to rely on. But Cal Quantrill, who came over from San Diego, he's been very good. He's finding his spot in that Indians rotation, but the bullpen couldn't hold it. Indians were up 2-0. A's tied it 2. Cleveland took a 3-2 lead, but then the A's ended up tying it, and Jed Lowry hit a massive 3-run homer for Oakland last night. And Frankie Montes, who struggled in the first inning, he settled down and pitched very well for the A's in that victory last night. So Oakland's taking the first 2 at Cleveland. Now the A's go for the sweep. Chris Bassett and Eli Morgan on the mound. And Bassett a heavy favorite here against this Cleveland team who now has gone under 500. And Oakland still very steady. Over 30 wins at home, over 30 wins on the road. And Oakland going for their second straight sweep. And then the A's get Texas coming up this weekend. So, like, Oakland, they can get some, or keep up the momentum here against Cleveland. I mean, they can end up running off 9 straight wins or so when it's all said and done. Eli Morgan actually is coming off a couple good starts. Well, if you back up a little bit, the Indians are 2-1 in his last 3 starts. 2 of those wins came as a plus 225 underdog at Houston and at Toronto. And even his last start against Detroit, in which he was favored and lost 2-1, Morgan went 7 innings, allowed 2 earned runs. He's allowed a total of 7 earned runs his last 3 starts. Also, he has struck out 17 and walked 2. So Morgan is holding his own here. And he faced Oakland back in mid-July. That was a series Cleveland took 2 of 3 at the Coliseum. The loss came on a Jed Lowry walk-off homer for the A's. Morgan went 5 innings and allowed 3 earned runs and struck out 6. So he had some success against the, a little bit of success against the A's. Chris Bassett, he's 11-3 for Oakland, and he's coming off a couple wins his last 2 starts in which he's gone 7 innings each against the Rangers and against the Angels. And he actually lost as a minus 170 home favorite to Cleveland during that series. 8 strikeouts, but he allowed 2 home runs, went 7 innings. You know he's a guy that can eat up innings, definitely. But the look, Cleveland, at least they have some confidence where they've beaten him. And Eli Morgan's pitching better. I don't know if you want to look at Cleveland maybe, try to avoid the sweep, but it's still a heavy number to lay for Oakland. Detroit's at Baltimore. Miguel Cabrera on the verge of 500 home runs in his career. All right. This game, you have Baltimore. They've lost 7 straight. They're laying 140 today. 140, 145. All right, what's in Baltimore's favor? Really nothing. John Means goes. Means beat the Tigers at Comerica Park when they last met about a week and a half ago. Matt Manning is winless in 5 road starts for Detroit, and he lost to the Orioles in that game opposite Means. Means, I think, was laying 110 or so in that game. Now he's laying almost 145 at some spots. Detroit, it's a good number I dug up. Probably end today, but it's a good number. Detroit is 8-0 in their last 8 series finales when they're going for sweeps. And they're 8-1 in that spot this year. The first time they lost, or the only time they lost, came in the opening series against Cleveland. So basically, the Detroit Tigers, when they go for the sweep, they don't just show up and lose. That they go, they want to finish it off. Detroit's 56-60. Now, they're not going to catch the White Sox. They're not going to be in the playoffs. But for a team that's been bad for a long time, and look, in the early 2010s, this was a quality team. This was a team that went to the World Series They would go to the ALCS. They would go to the playoffs. It felt like every year. They were the class of the American League Central for a while. But they're 4 games below 500. I'm sure that the goal for this season for Detroit is to get to 500. So this means something after they won the first 2 games at Baltimore. The Orioles are freaking shot. I don't know how you lay the number with the Orioles. I'm not going to play the contrarian card and say, well, Baltimore's only 140, got to take him. Baltimore is on a losing streak. Detroit is playing well. I just can't do it. I can't take the Orioles here. So that is at 4 o'clock from Camden Yards. Now you have 2 other 4 o'clock games. Texas is at Seattle, wrapping up their series. The Rangers lost 2-1 last night. Marco Gonzalez opposite Mike Foltynewicz. And Texas at least has been competitive so far in this series. So Marco Gonzalez goes, and Gonzalez was the guy in this Mariners rotation for a while. He was 7-2 last year, but this season 3-5 record, 4.61 ERA. Went 6 2/3 scoreless his last time out against the Yankees as a plus 150 dog, but they lost 3-2 in the Bronx. 4 straight unders for Gonzalez. But man, I don't know how you lay 225 with him. I don't care if Mike Foltynewicz is going for the Rangers. I just don't know how you lay it with Marco Gonzalez. Foltynewicz, his last few road starts, actually he pitched well his last road start at Oakland, allowed 1 earned run, but the Rangers lost 4-1. Before that, at Detroit and at Toronto, he gave up 15 earned runs and 7 homers. So that's not so hot. And even this year against the Mariners, Foltynewicz has allowed 2 earned runs in 2 of those starts, but also allowed 4 earned runs in 2 other starts. And out of the 4 starts, 3 have gone under. So maybe under could be worth a look today for the Rangers and the Mariners. I don't know how you lay that with Seattle. I really don't, because Gonzalez has not been reliable this year. Tampa Bay's at Boston, and this game was hilarious on a lot of points last night. Number 1, the Red Sox led 20-1 going into the 9th inning, but somehow Tampa Bay got 7 runs in the 9th inning and still lost by 12, so Boston won 20-8. That ended Tampa Bay's 5-game winning streak, and Boston had been on a terrible stretch, so that was a much-needed win, and Nathan Eovaldi continues to pitch well at home for the Red Sox. It's Tanner Houck and Drew Rasmussen on the mound today. Houck actually pitched well his last time out at Toronto in an extra innings win, 2-1. He went toe-to-toe with Jose Barrios. 3 2/3 innings. It was a 7-inning game, so he didn't have to go long. But that was a 1-0 game for a while. Red Sox tied it and then won it in extras. But Houck had 6 strikeouts his last time out against the Blue Jays, which is a pretty good lineup. And again, you're facing Tampa Bay, who right now is the leaders of the American League East. But for Rasmussen on the year, former Brewer, 2 1/3, 5 hits and earned run his last time out against the Orioles. He's probably not expected to go very long, maybe 3 innings. Houck, you're lucky if you can get 4 innings out of him. So again, one of these bullpen games, I just think these are tough ones to handicap. Yankees and the White Sox, Field of Dreams in Iowa, and that game's on Fox tonight, and it should be, again, very entertaining, very picturesque, playing in the cornfields in Iowa, first ever Major League game in the state of Iowa, and they were supposed to have this game last year, but due to the pandemic, it got pushed back. Shocker. Andrew Heaney and Lance Lynn on the mound. Heaney actually lost to the White Sox earlier this season as a member of the Angels. We know Heaney is an over machine. And what's funny is he had an under his last 2 starts with the Yankees, both at 10.5. So you're getting that number all the way to 10.5, being a 7-1 and 5-4 game. So it's not like they were 2-0 games either. But Heaney, in 2 starts since getting traded from the Angels to the Yankees, 4 earned runs each. He's allowed 5 home runs, and we don't know how the ball's going to carry in Iowa tonight. The Yankees, who are coming off a win at Kansas City, a series victory. Right now, the Yankees have won a couple series in a row. I mean, granted, they played the Orioles, Mariners, and Royals, so let's not exactly throw them a parade. Now they got the White Sox, who are off back-to-back losses to Minnesota by 1 run each. They lost yesterday 1-0. Lance Lynn was scheduled to go yesterday, but smartly, Tony La Russa moved him to tonight so he can face the Yankees, not face Minnesota. But Lance Lynn, one of the favorites to win the Cy Young, 10-3, 2.12 ERA, 130 strikeouts. And Lynn coming off a pair of victories, or actually no decisions, but the White Sox won both those games against the Indians and the Cubs, both overs. And Lynn in his last 6 starts, he's given up 1 earned run 5 times. And the other one, he gave up 3 earned runs. So Lynn continues to be a powerhouse on the mound for the White Sox. It was a great acquisition from Texas. And since Garrett Cole's been sidelined, Lance Lynn is now starting to become the guy that maybe will end up winning the American League Cy Young this season. The final game, guy may not win the Cy Young, but MVP favorite by far, Shohei Ohtani. And the Angels, they take on the Blue Jays, finishing up that series out in Anaheim. And Jose Barrios, who, again, a nice pickup for Toronto, coming over from Minnesota. 2 starts so far, 6 innings each, 1 earned run, 13 strikeouts, 1 walk, and lost 2-1 to Boston in extra innings his last time out. He's actually faced the Angels a few times this year as a member of Minnesota. Lost 2-1, but went 7 innings, allowed 2 unearned runs, and also beat the Angels in Anaheim in a 7-inning game, 6-3 back in early May, allowed 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. So Barrios has seen the Angels a few times this year, and Toronto, who lost the opener of this series 6-3, technically Blue Jays were the home team. Now the last 2 where the Blue Jays have been the road team, they've won 4-0 and 10-2. But now they face Shohei Ohtani, who has pitched very well at home, 6-1 record overall, 2.93 ERA, 4-0 at home, 1.79 ERA. A lot of people probably go with the contrarian angle, I'm sure, to take Toronto here. But with Ohtani, you're getting him as a home dog. And again, Toronto should be favored. They're the better team. Barrios, quality pitcher. Maybe Ohtani's worth a look here as a home dog because you know what you'll get out of him, and his home numbers have been fantastic. So that's the look at Major League Baseball for today and tonight. Now, the NFL, let us take a look at some of the action. You have a big card on Saturday. Also, tonight you have 2 games, and Washington faces New England. That number has flipped. Washington last night was a 2-point favorite at New England. Now it's a pick'em. So money has been put on the New England Patriots for this number to go from 2 to a pick'em. And so the value kind of sucked out there if you want New England on the points. But that total sits at 37, and Bill Belichick has had a good preseason record, but also he had Tom Brady, but also Tom Brady didn't play in a lot of the games, so those are always hard to judge. You'd have to look back at each individual game to see what these teams did, and Brady sat out the first preseason game for a long time for New England. And for Washington, they're going to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick, at least to start off, and you have Taylor Heineke, and Kyle Allen's a little banged up. But the Patriots, with Cam Newton, with Mac Jones, he'll be getting some time because they want to throw him in there. But, the numbers flipped, where New England now is at a pick'em. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And, again, the expectation is a little different on these 2 teams this year, in which the Steelers, again, even though Ben Roethlisberger's at the end of the line, still a team that could fight for a playoff berth in the AFC, where the Eagles are thought to be a last-place team in the NFC East and maybe be one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL. They have Jalen Hurts as their quarterback starting this season. And Pittsburgh coming off of the Hall of Fame victory over Dallas. The last 3 years, again, not including last year because we didn't have any Hall of Fame games, 2-4 straight up and against the spread. The last three, from 17 to 19, teams in their second game off the Hall of Fame game, regardless of what they did. Now, in 19, Denver and Atlanta played in the Hall of Fame game, and both teams lost the next week in week 1 of the preseason. So maybe a fade of Pittsburgh here. Again, these preseason games, don't put too much stock into names necessarily. Like Nick Sirianni, who's the coach of the Eagles, you better believe this is important for him. This is his first preseason game as head coach. For Mike Tomlin, I mean, the Steelers are trying to get through this, you know? They're literally looking at this as, let's not get hurt. I'm not saying the Eagles are going out there for blood, but there's a lot more the Eagles have to play for than the Steelers do coming up tonight. And Philadelphia laying 1. Tomorrow there are 3 games, Tennessee and Atlanta, Buffalo, Detroit, Dallas, Arizona. I mentioned Dallas in that Hall of Fame game against Pittsburgh, where maybe a fade the Cowboys again. Dak's banged up. Won't see him playing. And the Cardinals, a short favorite there. Buffalo and Detroit. Dan Campbell. Matt Campbell's the coach at Iowa State. Dan Campbell, crazy Dan Campbell. He is the head coach now of the Lions. And I'm sure Detroit now with Jared Goff in their quarterback that they will have some importance to this game compared to Buffalo, where Josh Allen just signed a new extension and the Bills coming off an AFC East championship. Tennessee, Atlanta, same thing with the Falcons. They have a new head coach, Kyle Pitts, their top pick, the tight end out of Florida. We'll see how much time he gets. And Tennessee's former offensive coordinator is now the head coach of Atlanta. And for Tennessee, playoff team last year, don't know how much really this game means to them. So that's a look at the NFL for tonight and tomorrow. And want to remind you again about the Daily Insider contest, which we have every Tuesday and Thursday here at the Daily Insider, where all you got to do is in the comments section below, put your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day or the night. Do it for Major League Baseball, side, total, run line, strikeout prop, a first 5-inning play, a first inning play. It's up to you. And you can also put in NFL preseason picks as well. So put that in the comment section below, and if you win, you will be in the running for a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper on VegasInsider.com, the handicapper of your choosing, 7 days of their picks. If you do not have a Vegas Insider user ID, go up to the big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that. Free membership. Register now. Create your ID and password. Put in your email address, first and last name so we can get in contact with you. And then you'll be a part of our community here at Vegas Insider. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. We greatly appreciate that. And again, looking forward to the NFL now really ramping up and getting underway, and also still a lot of baseball to go here in this season. A few weeks away from college football starting, so excited about that as well with week number 0 not far away. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching today's edition of the Daily Insider, and as always, best of luck with your bets.